yeah, I'm doing it. Will I ever finish the game? I don't know. Maybe? But that is not necessarily my goal right now. I'm just making it. I'm finally doing it. I'm actually making my dream game. I've wanted to make this game for years, and I've actually tried doing so several years ago. But where I think I wasn't skilled enough back then, I think I might be now. The idea is basically this. What if the game Forager was in the sky like Minecraft Skyblock, with Greek mythology and automation. A survival automation game where you begin on a tiny patch of land and slowly expand as you complete quests and automate things. I really love automation games, especially something like Factorio. But honestly, it all started with Minecraft's mod pack Tekkit back in 2012 or so. So really, I want to make a 2D game that takes all the things that I love about those games and those mod packs and gets rid of all the things that I don't like. So this is the original project from a few years ago, and it is an absolute disaster. It's fun and pretty comparable to the original idea, but its code is literally unsalvageable. Multiple of the same get component in the same function, there's no room for expansion, and it's just overall a terrible structure. Like, I'm ashamed to look at this. So instead, I decided to just start from scratch. Now, I won't bore you too much with all the basic stuff that I implemented. Like, I got player movement in pretty quickly, and with the use of art made by the incredible Krishna Palacio, it already looks way more interesting than whatever this was. Sick! The game is like 90% complete already. But that's a joke, because that was 4 months ago, and the game now looks like this. I know, it looks like barely anything has changed, but that's just how the game starts. A little later, it looks like this. There's already a gazillion different systems implemented into this version. And also a bunch of editor scripts, which are awesome. I love editor scripts. But yeah, okay, technically that means there is a lot to talk about. Like, a lot. 4 months worth of a lot of things to talk about. But I guess I'll just start talking about how I implemented an inventory system. About 10 years ago or so, I watched a pretty in-depth tutorial on how to make an inventory system in Unity. And while I don't really remember anything about it, apart that it was by this channel called GameGrind, I do know that I've made so many inventories since then that I feel like I've gotten pretty good at it. Basically, I make 3 scripts: inventory, inventory slot, and item. Although item is a scriptable object, so you can go away. Just leave. In the inventory script, I then make a list of my inventory slots and make it the size of the inventory that I want, which is, no, a little further down, okay, yes, 36 slots. That's actually quite a lot. In the inventory slot script, I have 2 main variables: what item is in the slot and how much of it is in the slot. This script gets a lot more complicated later on, but we'll get there. With this in place though, I can create UI objects, 36 little buttons, and when you click them, it checks what item you got in the slot and what item you're holding. And while I would gladly explain that whole thing to you, you can also just see it in action right here. Isn't that exciting? It's basically Minecraft. It's got a few basic functions in place that check whether a new item can be added to the inventory, if there's room and all of that, or to find if an item exists within the inventory at all. But with this inventory system in place, I felt like I could continue on to the next step. It's a survival game after all, so you'll be breaking objects, possibly building some, and interacting with them as well, like machines that come later down the line. So that meant that I wanted to get a few things working: placing, breaking, and interacting. Next question for $1 million redo. How did I go about implementing all these mechanics? Was it by doing A, using a raycast from the mouse to the world position, or perhaps B, using a grid system, or possibly C, by crying until the code started fading into existence? If you said all of them, you'd mostly be right, except the code starts turning into smears through my glasses and disappears with every single time that I blink. Gosh. In reality though, I have a grid system where every single tile is added to a list. I have 2 layers for the grid system, the background tiles and then the interactable tiles, which is the stuff you'll be able to break, place or interact with. Anyway, then I shoot a raycast from the mouse position to the game world, kinda like a little laser, but instead of bullying a cat with it, I use it to get a world position and then get the tile on the grid system through that world position. From there, it's simply a matter of left clicking or right clicking depending on what action you want to do, and checking inventory space or the currently selected inventory slot. And would you look at that, we genuinely got the foundation of the game set up now. Quick question before I continue. What would you prefer? Shorter videos where I talk about specific mechanics being implemented, like a crafting menu for example, or maybe really long videos where I talk about multiple mechanics being implemented into detail, or maybe something completely different. Just let me know what you want to see, or else I'm gonna get stuck in this circle of making 3 to 7 minute long videos where I basically talk at the speed of light. Anyway, remember when I said this grid gets a lot more complicated later on, but we'll get there. Yeah, we're there. One of the big mistakes that I made with that previous project that was based off the same basic idea was that I kinda just coded as if someone was standing behind me with a gun, and if I stopped typing, they'd shoot me straight through my head. This time, however, I wanted to make sure that I could easily implement new features and mechanics that would keep the other stuff still in mind, so that expanding the codebase would not be a problem at all. So, for example, this is a furnace. My furnace, much like Minecraft's furnace, has 3 slots. An input slot, a fuel slot, and an output slot. So in a way you could say that it has an inventory. And because I do not want to have to make a new script for every single object or machine that has an inventory in it, I just made it smart. Basically, I've got this base script called inventory that has all the inventory slots, and then I have a separate play inventory script that inherits the original script with extra logic just for the player, and an object inventory script that also inherits the original one and has its own logic again. That way I can just have one script that handles every single type of machine inventory, because their interaction logic will always be the same. Only difference being maybe the amount of slots or whatever they are expecting as an input or output. With that, I also added some more variables to the inventory script, like is it a fuel slot or is it an output slot, and then when automation stuff happens or I click the slots when playing it, it means that it has specific expectations from me. Like I cannot place any item into this slot because it is an output slot. It's not terribly complicated, but it's already way more than just what item is in the slot and how much of it is there. And while I'm sure I'll be adding more to it eventually, I won't have to go through many different objects to change the same thing when I can just change it this one time over here. By the way, I originally called the game Sky Factory because that sounded really cool and it fit the game perfectly, because you're in the sky, you're basically making some kind of factory. But yeah, that's taken, so that's not happening. Even if I did finish the game and it would become really popular and people are super into it, it would still be deep down the search results because of that really popular Minecraft mod pack and every single bit of content that was ever made for it. Which means that I don't know yet what to call the game. Usually I know this from like week 1. But yeah, anyway, for now I will just show you again what a world would look like if I were to play through what I already have. I think it looks so cool and I'm excited to talk about some of these things more. Also, because there's literally none of the Greek god stuff implemented yet, here's a great rendition of what I imagine Zeus would look like if I made him in the style of my game Greg's Mess. Who knows, maybe this is the way for this game as well. Anyway, that's it for now. Let me know what you think of the game down below. Subscribe. I'll see you all next time.